Hi, everybody. Welcome to Katie in the Morning. I'm Katie Page, Director of Member Relations at the National Association of Healthcare Assistants. So picture this. You're about three-fourths the way through your shift, and you see your administrator, DON, staff development coordinator, whoever it is that does the scheduling, coming down the hallway with their clipboard and that smile on their face. You already know what's coming. They're either going to ask you to stay late that day or ask you to pick up some hours on a different shift, or to pick up an entire different shift completely. So I can tell you guys, my longest stretch that I've ever worked in my 15 years of experience was 34 days in a row. And that included 16 double shifts. One of those shifts was a 23 and a half hour shift. And let me tell you, that takes some planning and it takes some extra nutrition to get you through those days. So today, and I saw this on the social media group last week on tips on how to make it through the longer shifts. So here they come. The number one tip for getting through those longer shifts is to plan out your diet, exercise, and sleep. Get a minimum of 8 hours sleep before your shift. And I know that's hard for some of us, especially those that have families at home that you have to tend to outside of work, but try your darndest to get it in. Maintain a healthy diet even when you are not at work. Pack some healthy snacks. This includes fruits, vegetables, and nuts are probably the best choices because you get that natural form of energy rather than relying on like energy drinks or sugar. Pop is a horrible one for me. And then exercise. Many people believe that this is an energy drainer, but when in fact it has the opposite effect. To give you an example of this, it doesn't really pertain to the CNA factor in my life, but about every other month we go back up to Iowa to see my family. It's 8.5 hour drive without 3 little kids. So our 8.5 hour drive is now turned into a 12 hour drive. And my husband is adamant that I do not drive, that he drives the entire way. And he drives at night. So we're usually leaving between 8 and 9 o'clock at night and getting there, 8, 9 o'clock the next morning. But rather than relying on those energy drinks, I try to push him away from him, but they're men, so they don't listen. First of all, I'm just kidding. He'll stop like every hour and a half, 2 hours, and get out and literally run around the car to get back in and just kind of get that energy back up, get that adrenaline running through your body, and get your nerves to wake up. So that's another thing that you can do while you're working those long shifts is just take a minute, and you may look silly while you're doing it, but in the end it'll pay off, and just kind of run in place or stretch your arms above your head or run around the table, or there are several things. Do a few push-ups if you like to do like the push-up or sit-up thing in the break room. Like I said, people may look at you like you're nuts, but they will appreciate the amount of energy that you have at the end of the day that's left in your body rather than if you were to go on those spurts without it. The next tip for getting through those long shifts is to prep your workspace. Mix the comfort with functionality. That's kind of a hard one for me. Wear comfortable shoes if you're going to be on your feet for long periods of time, which obviously CNAs are. For like 87% of our day, we're on our feet running up and down the hallways. Take frequent seated breaks when it is feasible. And keep what works and change what doesn't. So let's go back to the first one about preparing your workspace. This could be the first 5 minutes of your shift going through and passing towels and making sure that every resident has linens in their room. That way you're not running back and forth, the linen closet to the room, to the linen closet to the room, the linen closet to the room. Or a lot of facilities have a linen cart. Just pull it down the hallway with you, but make sure that it's stocked. So once again, you're not running from the cart to the linen closet, to the cart to the linen closet. You could do a lot of prep work for those independent people or the very limited assist standby people. Go through and put the toothpaste on their toothbrush and get their water ready and that sort of thing. That way they can do all that stuff for themselves rather than you interjecting, wasting energy, going back and forth, back out there, back in here, back in there. With the seated breaks, that one can be kind of tricky. Because we are expected to be viewed as busybodies of the facility. I believe CNAs are. But even like if you're doing your charting, find somewhere that you can sit down to do your charting. If you have like a laptop, even if you have like the wall mounted kiosks, find a way that you can kind of lean up and take that pressure off your feet while you're doing your charting. Just give yourself that 5 minutes or that 3 minutes or however long it's taking you to get that charting in. According to facility policies, a lot of the time you were supposed to do your charting directly after you've done the activity. Another way to kind of get those quick little seats in, especially feeding time, take advantage of this one because you get to sit next to the resident. kind of take your load off. It is very frowned upon to stand next to somebody and feed them because it's considered demeaning, looking down towards them while they're eating. So take that opportunity to sit down, take a load off your feet, interact with that resident, let them do as much as they can for themselves, help them with what they can't do for themselves, and really take, like I said, take the initiative to seize the moment, really, and take that break that you're going to need for getting you through the next part. Eating right even when you're not at work. This is a big one, I think, because if you think about it, it takes like 12 to 14 hours for our bodies to digest anything. So if you kind of take like all that junk in before you go to work, it's going to make you feel groggy later. When we go back, let's go back to the fruits, nuts, and vegetables for a second. If you take those in small portions, your body is taking what it needs from those nutrients and really using it to its full potential. When you're using like the chocolate bars and the energy drinks and the potato chips and that increased sodium, increased caffeine, increased sugar, a lot of that is wasted through our body. So it's stuff that we really, really don't need. So if you think about it, I go back to the cartoon character Word Girl. That's one of my son's favorite shows on public television. And she emphasizes on taking what you need and not putting things into your body that you don't need in one of her episodes. So I really think about her when I think about that stuff. And then when it comes to getting through those long shifts, the very last tip that I have for you guys is keep your brain alert and think positive. This cannot be said enough. Make a checklist of things that you're responsible for getting done during your shift. Take a break if you feel like you're slipping. And positive thoughts lead to positive actions. Making a checklist of things that you can do during your shift really gives you like a visual aid. And I think of it like a marathon. You know, I got this done, I got this done, I got this done. I have these 4 things left to go. So it just kind of keeps me focused and ready to take on the next thing. Positivity is like it's like an aura of energy, I think. There's ways that you can kind of reinsert that positivity into your long shifts. Laffy Taffies I love because they have those stupid little jokes on them. And I used to, when I was working up in Iowa, we had the walkie-talkies, and I would get on there, you know, throughout the day randomly and tell the rest of the girls these Laffy Taffy jokes. And it just kind of kept them going, got the smile on their face, the energy back up. So those are some of the things that you need to think of or that you can do when you know that your shift is coming. If you are one of those people like me and they come and ask you to stay late on your shift, you have a problem with saying no. So you'll say, oh, I'll stay like 2 hours extra and end up staying 6, or I'll stay 8 hours extra and then end up going home when you're supposed to be coming the next day. There are tips that you can do. You can negotiate with your supervisor, you know, make sure that they have snacks there for the staff that are putting in that extra mile. And if they don't, ask them, I will stay, you know, 2, 3, 4 hours after my shift if you allow me to run to the gas station, get a jar of peanuts, or if you let me take an extra break in between shifts just to kind of refocus my energy, because we all know there is a definite difference between day shift, evening shift, and night shift. Not just the task that you have to do, but the amount that the residents are able to do for themselves. Sundowners comes into play on the evening shift. In the mornings when they're kind of just waking up and they're still groggy, you're gonna have to give them more assistance then. So you really have to adjust yourself and focus for the tasks at hand on each individual shift, not just through like your 16-hour day. You have to take into consideration all the things that you'll have to do on day shift that you won't have to do on evening shift, things that you have to do on overnight shift that you won't have to do on day shift. Just really, that's where that list comes into play. Make a list of all your priorities, and it really keeps you focused on, okay, now I kind of have to shift myself into this gear. And that may be the times when you have to kind of take your seated break just to kind of gather yourself together, get your thoughts together, and really focus on the things that you are wanting to accomplish with that positive thinking. I thank you guys all for joining me today, and I will see you back here next time for Katie in the Morning.